Oh no, you're not ready.
I'm not, because presenting my course planning that I have designed for the year 2018-2019, and it is intended to be taught at intermediate level. Let me give you an outline of how I have structured my talk. I will start by giving you an introduction of the legal framework on which the course planning is based on. Then I will move on to talking about the context, the school where I have integrated the course planning, and also the profile of the students. Then I will move on to the objectives and also the methodology, and I will make a stop here to try and explain it in as much detail as I can. Then I'm going to move on to the course development and to the contents and competencies section, to continue with the materials, the complementary and out-of-school activities, and to finish with attention to diversity and evaluation. So let me begin, as I said, by giving you a legal framework on which I based the course planning. First of all, I have to mention Royal Decree 1629/2016 of the 29th of December, and the Royal Decree that modifies it, 999 of the 2012 of the 29th of June. Then the Decree 239/2007, which regulates the curriculum in the official schools in Andalusia, and also the one on Order 18th of October 2007. 2007. Right. So that's regarding the legal framework on which I based the course planning. But of course, I must mention the document conceived of by the Council of Europe, the Common European Framework, which of course provides a thorough description of all the levels of proficiency that any language user can attain. And also, it promotes the concept of plurilingualism within the territory of Europe. Right, that's regarding the introduction. Let me move on to the context section. Of course, the course planning is the third level of curriculum development, so it's crucial to integrate any course planning within a context. So in this case, I have chosen the EOI of the city of Cordoba, which is EOI Cordoba. And Cordoba is not a very particularly big town. It is very touristic, although it is not characterized by a big presence of native speakers. So in that sense, it will be crucial for us teachers to bring to the class as many real-life situations as we can, because we just don't have those chances to interact with native speakers. Likewise, I must say that the school welcomes students from all different villages from Cordoba, so we will have a good variety of socioeconomic backgrounds. So we will have to try and be as effective as possible in selecting a variety of tasks and activities and even topics to discuss. In this sense, also the school, the school of the official language school is not particularly big. It offers training in 5 different languages: Arab, German, Italian, French, and of course English. And I think when schools are not that big, it facilitates cooperation and collaboration with other teachers within the department and with other departments. So I think that's a positive thing too. Also, the area where the school is located is also an area of traditional socioeconomic, it's a low socioeconomic area. So it has benefited a lot from the presence of the school being there. Now let me move on to the profile of the students at school. As you know, in official language schools, in any official language schools, the profile of students is really, really heterogeneous in terms of different source of heterogeneity, so as to say. The first source of heterogeneity would be the age range of students. As what is established in the Order 20th of April, which regulates the criteria and the admission procedures for students at official language schools. We can find students as young as 13 years old, since they can always study a language different from the one that they're studying at school. Although the minimum age is 16, so we can find students as young as 13 mixed with students, mixed with all the students. So the age range is quite heterogeneous, it's quite wide. Another source of heterogeneity among any language school is obviously enough, the linguistic competence. Being the SSCT's intermediate level and taking into account what is established in the Order 31st of June, which regulates the recognition between the basic level and the language studies at A levels or bachillerato. We will find bachillerato students at this level who normally tend to have a low level of oral production and interaction skills. So we will have to deal with a wide range of linguistic competencies within the same class. Also, another source of heterogeneity is the interests and motivations of our students in the class. We will have normally qualified students that are currently working or unemployed, and they tend to be intrinsically motivated, so they are there for the sake of learning new languages, improving their linguistic competence. But we can also have students who are extrinsically motivated, bearing in mind that this is an intermediate level, which is a certification level. We could find students who are there for the sake of the title. So we can, in this sense, the initial evaluation would be crucial at this point to identify the different interests, motivations, the different linguistic competence present in the class, even the different learning paces and learning styles and so on. I will talk about that in section 10 in a minute. Well, that's all from the contents. Let me move on to the objective section. Well, regarding objectives, as we know, the main goal, and as such established in the Order 18th of October, the main goal of any language instruction is to develop the communicative competence. And also, as established in the Common European Framework, any intermediate language user is able to, in a general sense, is able to express themselves in normally an appropriate way in familiar topics, without a lot of complexity, committing mistakes every now and then, but normally we're dealing with familiar and routinary topics, so as to say. I have divided this section into general objectives and specific objectives per skills. So in the specific objectives section, we will find written comprehension, oral comprehension, written production and interaction, and also oral production and interaction. So I refer you to pages 4 to 8 in my course planning so that you can have a thorough look at the description of the objectives. And now let me move on to the methodology section in my course planning. As I said before, the acknowledged aim of any language instruction is the development of the communicative competence at an appropriate level, in this case at an intermediate level. So basically what I will do is the guiding principle of my course planning will be functions. So that will be the guiding principle for the development of all the contents. Grammar contents, vocabulary, pronunciation, strategies, every will hinge on functions. But that doesn't mean that I won't be teaching grammar in a more explicit way when necessary. We know that adults tend to be more confident when more explicit grammar is taught. So whenever it's necessary, I will not hesitate to resort to that. And also, that brings me to the idea that I will try to implement an eclectic approach in my course planning, so that for students to benefit from different types of approaches and activities. And in this sense, the methodology that better favors this eclecticism is probably task-based approach, task-based language teaching, And this will be one of the main methodologies that I will be implementing. In this case, I would like to, normally with task-based language teaching, what you do is bring in production stage to the front of the lesson. And then, once students have produced and they have carried out the task, we'll pay attention to form. So, in my course planning, for example, in unit number 3, when I'm intending to teach narrative tenses, what I do is to have students write a story based on pictures they've taken at home previously. And I haven't taught them any tenses like explicitly yet. So with that activity, what I'm trying to do is precisely complying with this methodology. So try to spot the difficulties and the barriers that they might be facing. And what I'm trying to do also is making the content that I'm presenting as meaningful as possible. So I'm trying to see whether they know or what problems they might have. And then we will focus on form once that I have spotted the difficulties. Right, these obviously oppose to the previous presentation, practice and production approach, which is, I think it goes more in line with the new approaches and new philosophies. Another methodology that I will be using is project-based learning. I think this methodology goes in line also with the philosophy of task-based learning, and it provides countless benefits to students. As you will see in my course planning, every teaching unit has a project which students will have to carry out at the end of the unit. And the idea with projects is that students learn to cooperate together, and students with different levels of proficiency come together and work and benefit from each other. And this lies at the very heart of the development of the so-called 21st century skills. Regarding 21st century skills, I think project-based learning is something that highly benefits the development of these skills. On page 8 in my course plan, you can find a diagram explaining the 21st century skills, which have been summarized in the 4 C's of education, which are communication, collaboration, creativity, and critical thinking. And undoubtedly, the project-based learning favors the development of the 4 C's of education. And finally, another philosophy that I will be using in the class is the so-called flipped classroom. And together with project-based learning and flipped classroom, what I'm trying to do is to adapt my teaching to the 21st century education and try to develop in students 21st century skills and the 4 C's of education. So the idea with flipped classrooms is to devote, to make the most of time students spend in the class. So devote our time in the class to practical activities and to high-order thinking skills. And it is based on Bloom's taxonomy of hots and lots. So what students will do would be to do lots at home. They would carry out activities such as understand and memorize and organize and so on. And we will spend time in the lessons lessons done to high-order thinking skills like creating and evaluating and assessing. And in this case, project-based learning is a great ally to do this, to develop HOTS. Right, now let me talk about the principles governing my course planning. As I said before, with project-based learning, what we do is promoting participation and collaboration. Research has shown that knowledge is better construed when students work together. So I think participation and collaboration is a very important part of learning. Another principle that governs my course planning is the principle of meaningfulness. As I said before, in this sense, initial evaluation will be crucial to make contents as meaningful as possible, and also meaningfulness in the sense of making real-life situations come to the class, and so to make the activities that students do in the class as meaningful as possible for them. Another principle that goes in line with the development of the 21st century skills and so forth is the principle of autonomy. Within the concept of autonomy, obviously we are trying to develop in our students the concept of lifelong learning. And as you will see in my course planning, section 6 in competencies and contents, I have included a section especially devoted to strategies. And what I'm trying to do is provide students with strategies to work on their cognitive strategies, their social strategies. So there will be a series of strategies that will help them continue their learning process outside the class, not only in the classroom. Also, a very important principle is the principle of the course planning being content-centered. As I said before, class-based learning helps us to focus on contents rather than the form. Form will be only attended to in that it helps to develop functions and the communicative competence. But as I said before, grammar will not be disregarded or overlooked. Well, those are regarding the principles. Now, I would like also to refer to how I will be using new technologies in my course planning. Regarding new technologies, I think they play a very important part in the 21st century education. I think it's important for us teachers to operate with new technologies, to present our students with different resources, and in that sense, also to put into practice this approach flipped classroom. We really need them. And the idea that I have come up with is to use a platform called CISO, which is very user-friendly, and students will, this will be the platform through which I will upload all the materials and all the things that I need my students to visualize, to implement this approach with classrooms at home. And also they will use it as a digital portfolio too. A digital portfolio. So it will be the platform that will allow them to record and keep track of their progress, of their work. Everything will be online. And also, I will be using a very useful tool called Edpuzzle, which again will make it easier for me to implement flipped classroom and will allow me to perform a more individualized assessment process of my students, because it allows for teachers to create videos to see what students answered and which difficulties they might be facing, and it provides me with the opportunity to make a more individualized assessment. Also, the internet, obviously enough. I will use the internet as a source of videos, podcasts, and as a source of real material and real language and up-to-date language material. And also, I would use some apps because I think, as I said before, in developing the 21st century skills and lifelong learning, it's very important also to help students to develop their digital competence too. And for example, in unit number 7 in my course planning, we will be recording a video CV. So it's something original, it's something that it can help them in their real life, in getting a job, for example. So that's regarding new technologies. Okay, now let me move on to the course development section in my course plan. As it is stated in the Decree 301/2009, which regulates all the school calendar, you can find all the detail of the year 2018-2019 in my course planning in page 12. But although you have the full calendar, also from pages 31 to 34. I won't stop too much in this section, but I would like to say that the course planning is structured in 3 terms, obviously enough, and in 12 units. Each unit will take between 4 to 6 sessions, of 125 minutes each. I have planned for a little less, just in case some activities would take a little less, a little longer than previously expected. Well, and that's it. I think regarding the course planning, that's enough. Well, also the time of the timetable of the tutor can be found in section 5.3 in my course planning, which is established by the Royal Decree 14/2012. Right. So now let me move on to the contents and competency section. As I said before, I have planned 12 different units, and each unit deals with different contents, not only grammatical contents, but also strategies and vocabulary and even intercultural awareness. But as I said before, all the contents hinge on functions. So that's the main issue with contents and competencies in my course planning. I refer you to pages 14 to 18 to see all the tables that I have designed with all the contents that I have selected. And also I must say that all of them are based in the order 18th of October. Now let me move on to section 7, which is materials. As I said before, I will try to use a wide variety of materials. New technologies, as I said, will play a very important part. I will use the internet to get countless resources. And also, I have included 2 reading complements that you will find in the table that I have included in page 19. And also, I would like to highlight that I have included also some websites that I will be using. For example, there's one that I like to advise my students to use, which is World English. It has a lot of practice regarding different skills and vocabulary and grammar. So I will advise them to use those kind of pages just to practice more autonomously at home. Now, section 8 in my course planning deals with complementary and out-of-school activities. DAFE is the department that normally organizes all these kind of activities. However, I have proposed some of them for this academic year that you will find in section 8. I will mention some of them. For example, in the first term, to commemorate the European Day of Languages, I have proposed for each department to create a video with students talking about why they're studying a language, and then that video could be uploaded to the platform. That would take place on the 26th of September when the European Day of the Languages is held. And it's also a great opportunity to promote intercultural awareness, which is a very important content within the course planning. Also, in the third term, I have proposed to develop to carry out a Manatee Challenge based on festivals. So I would like each department to choose a particular festival in that language, and they could decorate a class, and even those students who are willing to, they could dress up and they could pose for the Manatee Challenge, and I think it can be both fun and also enriching. Now let me move on to the attention to diversity section. As I said before, attention to diversity and initial evaluation plays an important part in the development of the 21st century education. So I have, according to the 2 organic laws currently enforced, which are LOE and LOMFE, and also according to the Decree 239, we as teachers, we need to implement attention to diversity measures in the class to cater for the different learning styles and the heterogeneity of students. So I have implemented some of the measures. I think some of them, a very important one, is precisely the use of flipped classroom. It allows for the teacher to make a more individualized assessment of every student. And the idea is to try and make the contents available for students at any time so that they can work on the contents at their own pace, and maybe some students take a little longer, some students take a little less, understanding a particular topic. So you are patching for diversity there. Another measure for attention to diversity would be the right use of tutorial hours. I think they are key to promote attention to diversity. We have the chance to address each particular student and also to call groups of students who might be facing the same difficulty to cater for them. I have included in section 9.1 another one for students with special needs, like visually impaired students, physically impaired students, and students with linguistic disabilities, that you can find in that section on page 20 in my course plan. And finally, let me present the evaluation section that I have designed. As I said before, initial assessment will play a very important part in my course planning. Regarding the initial assessment, I have planned, I have devised some tools that will allow me to spot the different learning styles and the different characteristics of the students. And regarding the initial assessment, I will focus on two main things, which are the motivation, interest, and personal data of my students, and then their linguistic competence or baseline with which we start the year. So regarding their learning style and their motivations and interests and their personal data, which is very important to collect, I have designed a questionnaire online using the app Google Forms that they will do at home. Regarding also the learning styles, I have devised an activity which is called the bullseye, to identify the different types of intelligences present in the class, the spatial intelligence, the logical, mathematical, and I will be able to see what type of intelligences there are in the class and also favor some activities over others. Regarding the baseline, the starting point of my students, I will carry out, because I think that cannot be done with a single test, so I will resort to observation to see over the first weeks, to see what the starting point of the students are, and I will take notes with rubrics and so on. Also, the rubrics that I will be using, the skill rubrics, are the ones that are being used right now in official language schools, and which you can find in my course plan. Also, regarding formative assessment, I think that formative assessment is crucial in terms of identifying the difficulties the student might be facing over the course of the year, and also it might be useful for me to redesign the instruction in case it's possible. So in that case, I will use different rubrics to assess skills and also the performance of the students in the different projects. Likewise, with formative assessment, I would like to mention peer and self-assessment. I think the platform will be a very important tool in doing this, because students can have access to their peers' portfolios, and I think self and peer assessment is something that lies at the very heart of lifelong learning and continuous learning. Also, to finish with, regarding final assessment, regarding formative assessment, I forgot to say something very important. This is a certification level, so I will perform on the first and second term 2 mock exams that will give students an idea of how well they are progressing in relation to the objectives of the year of intermediate. And finally, regarding final assessment, obviously enough, since this is a certification year, the final assessment will be the PETEC, obviously. But apart from the PETEC, I have decided to hand in students at the end of the year a questionnaire so that they can assess my own teaching. I will ask them about the materials that I have used, the usefulness of the platform, to see if I should change my approach in the next year, or what changes should be made, or what things have been accepted and what things haven't. So another satisfaction questionnaire.